My pregnant wife is addicted to the gym and secretly found a gymbro to ride there. Now he swears he loves her and my unborn baby and wants to be her real father. Posted by you/other_salt3889. My wife is 30 years old, and she's always worked out and been in shape, but lately, I feel like it's becoming excessive. She used to regularly work out at a gym when she was in college. At some point, she stopped going to the gym, I think lately just due to her schedule, and preferred to work out at home or go for runs outside. About 18 months ago, she announced she was going to get back into the habit of going to the gym. She now has a job where she's able to make more time for it. It started off normal, but slowly became more and more frequent. She signed up for classes on the weekend both days, then she started going to the gym every day, then it became the morning before work and then again later in the evening. Every single day. If she's stressed, she goes to the gym. Experience some sort of life crisis? She immediately heads to the gym. We have an argument? She runs to the gym. She's 4 months pregnant right now. I'm kind of surprised we even had time to make a kid. I understand that it's safe for her to work out, especially since she was already in the habit of doing it before she got pregnant, but the intensity is not slowing down. If she misses one of her normal gym sessions, she becomes so irritable, like a junkie not getting her fix. It's just bizarre. Truly a case of too much of a good thing. Of course, she gets upset when I voice that I feel it's becoming an unhealthy obsession and that I miss spending time with her because she's there so much. She has all of these friends and this whole circle of people there that she seems to prefer spending time with over me. Why don't we work out together at the gym? The gym is her time, she says. This isn't a case of me feeling insecure because she's in great physical shape and I'm a fat slob. I work out and am in shape. My job really requires me to stay in shape, so I can't let myself go even if I wanted to. I genuinely feel her gym habits are unhealthy. She's over-exercising, for one. There is such a thing. But worse than that, I feel it's becoming a way for her to escape everything else in her life. She never actually fixes anything that goes wrong in her life. She just runs off to the gym to get some sort of mood boost and then that's it. She also never gets anything else done in a practical sense, because how can she when she's at the gym so often? It's to the point where I have to do every chore, and if food is getting made, I'm going to have to do it. I don't expect her to do all of those things, but it should at least be a shared effort. People we know have even commented about it to me. They've said things about how she seems different, how she sure is at the gym a lot, and many of her friends and family barely see her anymore. Some have even suggested she's having an affair with somebody there. Please tell me that this doesn't sound normal to you. She insists this is perfectly normal. Update 10 days later. I posted not very long ago about my wife's addiction to the gym. A compulsion, if you will. She spends most of her free time there. She often goes twice a day, and sometimes even 3 times if we have a fight at night and she needs to run off instead of actually talking to me. She won't let me go to her gym, and she refuses to go to mine. Her gym is her place, my gym is my place, and that's just the way it has to be according to her. I'd love to have her come along with me. I've invited her multiple times. She's about 18 weeks pregnant right now, and this is our first baby. She worked out like crazy prior to the pregnancy and she continues to work just as hard now. I truly didn't think she was cheating on me. People suggested it in the last thread, and I laughed. You can tell she's at the gym a lot, she's in great shape, so she's obviously going there. I felt really confident about the cheating issue, and when I posted 9 days ago, I wasn't even considering cheating. I'm embarrassed to admit that after reading a lot of the comments on my last post, I thought maybe I was being overly confident about her fidelity. She usually always has her phone on her, but she left it on the kitchen counter, and as stupid as I felt, I decided to do a quick swipe through her texts. She had a current text conversation going on with a guy. I recognized the same name of a guy from the gym she mentions a lot. She's friends with a lot of people there and even went to one of their weddings last fall. I wasn't too terribly concerned until I started reading the texts. I never wanted to know what the guy was packing beneath the belt, but now I know. She was only out of the room for literally about a minute or two, so I had to scroll fast. I was furious. I asked her what the hell that conversation was about. She started yelling at me for looking at her phone. I told her she's acting so weird, and the gym obsession was really bothering me, so I just decided to look, and I was ashamed that I did, but that's what I thought I'd find, nothing at all. She said, it's nothing, it's nothing. It didn't look like nothing to me. She sure seemed pretty interested in this nothing. I wanted to know if she'd been sleeping with him, and for how long. She kept saying no. I left the house because I was so furious, but not before I slammed her phone on the ground and shattered it. She was calling me all sorts of names for breaking her phone. She hit me on the back as hard as she could before I left. I went to my brother's house. My brother and sister-in-law were shocked, although my sister-in-law was one of the most vocal ones about my wife's gym obsession being weird and bringing it up to me constantly. When I went home later, she was in bed crying. She obviously couldn't call me or anyone else for that matter. She was laying it on thick, I don't know if you'd ever come home. Give me a break. I took her phone to get it repaired tonight. She doesn't deserve it, but I still feel like a jerk for breaking her phone. I still don't know how deep it goes. She won't admit to anything beyond what I saw. Was it just dirty texting, which is bad enough, or more? I'm convinced it was a lot more, but she refuses to hand over her phone and is now trying to act like I'm this terrible monster who is abusing her because I broke her phone. Not my proudest moment, but I honestly wanted to body slam her after she punched me. I have never and would never actually touch her like that. Second update 1 day later. Not sure if posting something in my profile will be seen by anyone, but I don't feel like making another update in a subreddit. Today, my wife asked me to stay home from work so we could talk. She laid in bed all day yesterday trying to get me to feel sorry for her, but I paid absolutely no attention to her and ended up leaving the house to go to my family's Super Bowl party. I wasn't in the mood to go, but I wasn't going to sit at home with her. It really bothered her that I left. She kept texting me things like, "Who just leaves like that? When something like this is happening, who is that cold and callous that they just leave to go to a party?" I stayed home today to talk to her. She was full of tears and said she's so sorry. According to her, she really was going to the gym twice a day because she likes going there. That's where her friends are. It makes her feel good, it's fun for her. She met this guy there, and he started flirting with her. Everyone likes him, he's one of the most popular guys there. I didn't realize there were popular people at gyms. She admitted that she flirted back but didn't mean anything by it. She didn't reciprocate very much at first, but he gave her butterflies, and she just found herself flirting back without thinking. She said it felt like when she had a crush on somebody when she was in school when she was younger. They started texting. At first, it was just friendly and nothing dirty for several months, but she'd feel giddy every time she got a message from him. She was really attracted to him but told him that she was married and there could never actually be anything between them. According to her, he kept flirting with her anyway and said, "Sure, we won't cross the line," until they did cross the line. She said she had tried to resist it for a while, but then one day they kissed. She admitted to enjoying it but also feeling that it was wrong. She must not have felt that bad because she slept with him for the first time later that night. She described it like falling in love with somebody for the first time. All she could think about was him. Is she in love with him? She doesn't know. Is this baby mine? She thinks so, but there's always a small chance it could be his. He always uses a condom so she doesn't think it's his baby, but they were sleeping together at the time she got pregnant. She loves me, but she can't help that there's just this huge spark between the two of them. She doesn't know if she loves him, she doesn't know if the baby is mine, she doesn't know why she did this, she doesn't know what she thinks we should do. The nail in the coffin is when she said, "Would you really leave me if it's not your baby?" She had the nerve to ask me that. I told her, of course, I'm leaving her, and I wouldn't raise another man's child. She seemed shocked. She said, "Really? With everything we have and all our history, you wouldn't even consider it?" She can't be serious. I told her no, I would never consider it. She agreed to get a DNA test. She tearfully agreed, like I'm supposed to feel sorry for her about it? I don't know who this woman is. She was crying the whole time, but not tears of an ashamed or sorry person. They were tears for herself and meant to try to make me feel bad. Feel bad for what? That her heart is apparently so torn? Third update 10 days later. The woman who was once my wife, who I considered a classy woman, has turned into complete trailer trash. Today, she announced that she's moving in with her affair partner from the gym. She's pregnant, might be his kid, might be mine. She's too embarrassed to go get blood drawn for a paternity test. She spent about a week trying to get my attention, to get me to talk to her, to get me to beg her to be mine. I didn't fall for any of it. I've largely been ignoring her, and when we have to speak, I keep it very brief. We've been living together this whole time, but I'm in a different room now and functioning separately from her in all ways. So, her pouting and trying to get me to pay attention to her and give her a gold star for not going to the gym for 5 days in a row didn't work. Today, she texted me to say she is moving in with him. Somehow, I still care about this person. I've already met with a lawyer though. I can care about her as a human being and possible mother of my child without being married to her. Still, it stung to hear her say she was going to be with him. I told her it wasn't a smart move to leave the house. I've even told her she should probably meet with a lawyer, but she doesn't care about anything I have to say. I don't think she needs to move in with anybody. I actually feel bad for her that she can't just be on her own. I asked her if he actually knew she was pregnant and wanted to know what story she's been telling him this whole time. She said he knows, and he doesn't care if it's my baby, he loves her and wants to be with her. Bizarre. Can't he find anyone else? Somebody who isn't a married, pregnant woman? Why would he take that on? Doesn't make sense to me. He's scum, but he's good-looking scum who apparently is gainfully employed and owns his own home, so you can't tell me that my married, pregnant wife is your only option here. I just can't imagine being a single guy like that and wanting to put up with this baggage when I could have other options. And if this really is my baby, then what? They'll live with my wife and this weasel 50% of the time? I don't know how my life turned into this mess. And she thinks it's embarrassing to have to go get blood drawn? Fourth update 1 week later. My wife moved in with her affair partner last weekend. She didn't take very much at all, as most of her stuff is still in our house. I still get the feeling she was just waiting for me to beg her to come home, but I didn't reach out to her at all after she left. It was a strange mixture of relief, anger, and sadness. I don't think I ate at all until last night. Just never felt hungry, drank a little too much, but I'm fine. I'm posting this update because I've received a ton of messages from people, and honestly, it's emotionally draining to respond to each one and to have to type the same stuff out. I just don't feel like talking about her that much. So, this morning, she texted me to say her affair partner wants to get a DNA test done, so she's going to do it. Look at that, didn't matter when I wanted one, but now that he has requested it, she suddenly thinks it's a great idea. She asked if I wanted to submit a sample because it'll be cheaper to have two dads tested as part of one package. I don't even care about the cost at this point, I just want an answer. I don't have to see or interact with them at all. I just have to make my own appointment with the lab to get my cheek swabbed. So, this Saturday, I'm going to do that, and we should have the results within a week. I'll take what I can get at this point because it's better than her dragging this out for another 20 weeks. So that's it. I'm fine, I'm going to work every day, trying to function. I just feel stuck in limbo. I miss her. Honestly, I hate that she's there with him, it makes me sick. Part of me does want to beg her to come home. It'll be even worse if I find out that it's my baby and she's there with him. Unless he drops her at that news. I won't let myself beg her. I won't play any of those games with her. Fifth update 2 weeks later. My wife has been having an affair with a guy she met at the gym for at least nearly a year. She's around 22 weeks pregnant right now. She was somewhere around 17 weeks when I discovered she was cheating. She maintained that she was positive I was the father, but then refused to get a paternity test done to ease my mind. We recently had a paternity test done, at the request of her affair partner, and it proves the baby is mine. It's been very mixed emotions for me, very up and down. Originally, I thought I just wanted to be completely done with her and not have any lifelong ties in the form of a full-blown human being we shared, but I was sort of happy or relieved when I got the results. I'd already had it in my mind that I was going to be a father for months before I found out she was cheating. Sometimes I just have moments where I can't believe this is my life, that this is the situation that my kid will be born into, and I hate her for it. She's still living with him. All of her belongings are still here in our house, as I refuse to do the work of packing everything up for her. She doesn't seem concerned about taking any of her things, beyond the essentials. After we got the news that I'm the baby's father, she texted me to say she's glad I'm the father and that she knows I'll be a great dad. She was texting me new baby name ideas last night. She's tried calling, but I ignore the calls. I only speak with her via text. This morning, she asked if she could come by and get a few things, and I told her it was fine, as I've been advised by my lawyer to not prevent her entry to the home, but I told her that he better not be with her. So, who shows up with her? The scumbag boyfriend. He walks right into the house behind her like it's no big deal. She ran upstairs to get the stuff she wanted, and he and I were just left standing there in the living room. He told me it wasn't her fault that he was there. She told him I didn't want him to come, but he forced his way along. He wanted to talk to me, supposedly, to tell me he understands how I must be feeling. No, you don't know. He told me he knows I probably don't believe him, but he genuinely loves her and knew he probably wasn't the father. He accepts it and then tries to assure me he won't try to take my place with the baby and hopes we can just get along since we're both going to be in her life now. He promises that she's fine, he's looking after her. I told him that I couldn't for the life of me imagine what he wanted with a pregnant woman who is having another man's child, that I found it weird. Then I told him if he didn't get out of my house, I'd punch him. I went upstairs, and she was trying to find some things in the bathroom. I got mad, asked her why she brought him along, told her I find it really strange that he still wants to be with her now that he knows he has nothing to do with this baby, and that I refuse to let him have anything to do with my child. She said he talked her into coming, and she's sorry and never meant for any of this to happen, but she's in love with him now. He is supposedly what 30-year-old her is looking for, not me. She's setting up a nursery in his house, and I can set one up at my house, and she has no intention of trying to get full custody or anything like that. She doesn't want to keep me from being involved in my child's life. How generous of her. She went back downstairs, and I followed her, and he was still standing there in the living room, so I just walked up to him and punched him. He stumbled back and fell into a table. She yelled, "What the FCK," and ran over to him. I don't even care at this point. As if he's going to call the cops? He deserved it, and it wouldn't have happened had he just left like I told him to. Several hours later, she texted me to say she was sorry about today. He really meant what he said, and he's actually a good guy, and he cares about her, and he respects me. What the FCK do you mean he respects me? I was like, you can't be serious. She said, fine, I'm trying to have a mature conversation about this. I can't help that we fell in love. Believe it or not, I'm not trying to hurt you, and I want everything to be amicable. This guy stole my wife, and he's stealing my kid too. Sure, I'm the actual father, but now they're setting up a nursery together in his house? I've tried to not feel jealous or sad. I've tried to maintain the thought that he's the trash man who picked up my garbage. Sometimes I feel that way, but the truth is that I loved her, and still love her. I don't want to stay married to her on principle alone, but this is devastating to me. Sixth update 1 month later. My wife is basically 26 weeks pregnant now. There actually hasn't been much drama with her and her affair partner. I was away for a long weekend last week, and it was nice to just get away from home for a while. The only really annoying thing that's happened is that I told her I'm going to be in the delivery room, not him. After everything she's done, she owes me that. It's not his baby, he has no right or reason to be there. I will not be the one waiting outside when my kid is being born. She said she agreed and she never planned to have him in there with her. I asked her if she'd told him that, and she said no. I told her to tell him he'll have no part in it. Well, she told him, and apparently he didn't like that, and he started trying to convince her why he should be there. Next thing I know, She's telling me that he really wants to be there and she's the one giving birth, so she should be able to say who she wants there, and she wants him there. I suppose he'll start making name suggestions soon and we'll try to overrule names we've had picked out for our future kids for years. We talked a little bit, and she told me I can have our house and the dog in our divorce. I'm requesting that we sell the house and split the profit. I already have that written in the paperwork. I'm not buying her out of our house, a house that I've made all the payments on anyway. I have a much better credit score than her and less debt. I compromised a lot because she liked this house. I'd rather be able to get my own place based just on what I want and with no reminders of her, and there was already no way she was getting the dog. I already had proof that I owned him, though, so she wouldn't really stand a chance of having a court award the dog to her. It's the one thing I told my lawyer I wanted above everything else, not including any custody issues surrounding my actual human child. Honestly, her affair partner can have her, but he will never ever have my dog. Not to mention, my dog is 100 times more loyal than my wife, and some might even say better looking too. So, with the idea that I won't be living here in this house for much longer after the baby is born, if everything moves quickly, I decided I will still prepare a nursery here anyway in case anyone wants to try to accuse me of not being invested or prepared for fatherhood. I'm trying to look at the positives. It doesn't matter what colors she likes or what themes. I can do whatever I want. Honestly, we've been together for so long and have lived together for most of our adult lives. It's sort of nice not living with somebody, but sort of lonely too. I have friends and family, but it's hard to feel in the mood to go out or hang out with people too often. They always ask me about everything that's going on and it's just like I'm tired of that being the topic of conversation. I got a promotion at work, which financially would have been better if it had happened after the divorce, but I'll take what I can get. I feel like I'm living in this limbo right now, and a lot of what I do is always framed around how will this affect me in the divorce? Admittedly, I spy on them on social media sometimes. Guess I'm hoping to see he's been in a motorcycle accident or something now that the weather is nicer. Hasn't happened yet, but he's starting a new company, and once that's up and running, I can always get all my friends and family to leave 1-star reviews everywhere. Have to find ways to have a little fun. Sorry that I don't respond to a lot of messages or comments. Sometimes I just take big breaks from looking at Reddit since it can be depressing AF. Edit. Something I forgot to add, she told her family that we've split up and that she's with this other guy now. Her sister reached out to me to say how sorry she was. Her sister is dumb as FCK, that sort of thing. She told me that my wife was complaining about her affair partner. She said the bedroom fun is over when he's done, and apparently, he's really selfish in bed. He doesn't do extra little things for her that she's used to me doing, like clearing the snow off her car in the morning and heating it up or offering to make her food after a long day. He doesn't speak her love language, and he hangs out with his friends too much. This made me so happy to hear. She's secretly miserable, and I find that absolutely delightful. 7th update 1.5 months later. I'm still alive. I'm mainly posting here because several people have reached out to me, concerned that I might have taken my own life. No, I'm not on the brink of ending my life. In fact, I think I'm doing better than I have since all of this started. Around the time of my last post, my story blew up, and I started getting messages from people who saw it on TikTok and YouTube. I had to take a step back because it was a little overwhelming. I have over 100 unread messages here. I appreciate the support, but it felt a little uncomfortable at the time, and I got to the point where I didn't really want to talk about the situation with my wife and her affair partner anymore. As of today, our baby is due in less than 10 weeks. We're in the home stretch now, but I don't feel prepared at all. All of this other stuff has just been so distracting. I've started working on a nursery. It's not done yet, but I've finished the flooring and painted the walls. My ex-wife was impressed with the color scheme and furniture I chose. She's not legally my ex-wife yet, but I've started calling her that. It sort of makes it easier. I also packed up a bunch of her stuff. Initially, I refused to spend my time packing her things, but eventually, I just said, screw it, and started packing. I'm at the point where it's easier not to see all of her stuff around here. Why did I leave it for so long? She came over to pick up some of the boxes I'd packed. She came alone. Things were fine between us. I loaded the stuff into her car. We didn't argue. At one point, she started to tear up and said she had messed up. I told her, yeah, you did, but added that there was no point in talking about it now. She had destroyed our marriage. She has her muscle-bound jerk to go home to now anyway, so who cares? She said, I know, but it's not the same. I told her nothing had been the same since she decided to sleep with him the first time. Supposedly, he's going to let me be in the delivery room when my baby is born. I didn't even argue when she phrased it that way, but inside, I was boiling at the idea of him letting me be there for the birth of my child. She says she talked to him, and he agreed that it wouldn't be right to prevent me from being there. I'll take what I can get if it means being there for the birth of my child. I'm going to try to ignore him for now. She was acting all sweet and saying things like, I really want you there. I really need you there. I know I'm not in the mental space to be cold to her when she's like that. I'm trying to be indifferent more than anything else, but it's so hard when she's actually around, looking at me a certain way and making me feel bad. She invited me over to see the nursery they've set up at his house. I'm not sure I can bring myself to go into another man's house and look at the nursery he's set up for my child. I did ask her if she was truly safe there, though. I don't know why, it's just been bothering me. As angry as I still am, I don't want to find out he's mistreating her, and I definitely don't want my child to be going into an unsafe household. I haven't told her anything her sister has told me. They probably won't last, but as of right now, there's a very good chance my newborn baby will be going home to his house. It devastates me to think about. It's almost soul-destroying if I dwell on it too long. She says she's fine. She insists that he genuinely loves her, that he's great with kids, and that he accepts she's having a baby as part of the package. She says it's not weird because she wasn't pregnant when anything started between them. I asked her why she did it, why she let anything start between them in the first place. She said, "I don't know," then went into her usual "I don't want to talk about this" mode and left pretty soon after. Typical behavior from her, just running away. Overall, I'm doing okay. I'm not sitting here depressed, drinking a bottle of booze every night anymore. Occasionally, sure, but for the most part, no. I feel more used to my new normal now, though everything will change yet again pretty soon. Edit. There is currently a draft of a custody plan, but the court won't approve anything until after the baby is born. Right now, she's in agreement, but there's plenty of time for her to change her mind, or for him to convince her to change her mind. She plans to breastfeed, with the understanding that she'll pump so the baby can drink from a bottle when not with her. Everything I've read suggests that a baby ideally needs to spend time with each parent frequently, without long gaps in between, and it's best if each parent is involved in feeding, changing, bathing, etc., during their time. At this time, she's in agreement with all of this. I can say that she hasn't said or done anything to indicate she wants to restrict my time with the baby, other than the issue with the delivery room. She seems to want me to be involved in that respect, and I hope she sticks to her word. If not, I will pursue legal action to address it. 8th update 2 weeks later. I have a baby, a little girl. I'm a dad. She was born yesterday, 2 weeks early. As she's done before, she was having some pains off and on, and he left for work yesterday morning. She works from home on Mondays. She told me around 8:30 a.m. that she was having contractions 17 minutes apart. The same thing had happened not long ago, but by evening, all the pain stopped. I was at work, so I told her to keep me posted. A little later, she said they were 15 minutes apart and that she had some other signs it might actually be labor starting. I asked her if she needed someone there with her. She said she wanted me to come be with her. I didn't even mean to volunteer myself. She was scared. I didn't even ask why she didn't call him. I left work and went over to her house. Uncomfortable doesn't begin to describe it, but there were obviously more important things going on. He wasn't there. She didn't even contact him. She said she just wanted it to be me and her there. In her words, he hadn't seen her pee or crap herself yet, but I'd witnessed all of that stuff already, so she was more comfortable with me there. I really tried to be as nice and supportive as possible, setting aside the whole thing about her affair, our marriage, and everything else for a brief time. I don't really know what my purpose was in being there, but I think she just needed someone so she didn't feel alone. She spent most of the time stretching, doing some sort of yoga labor routine, and bouncing on this huge exercise ball. I twiddled my thumbs for the most part and looked through a bunch of his belongings. I was timing the contractions, and they were consistent and slowly getting closer together, so I thought it was probably actually going to happen. It wasn't nearly far enough along to go to the hospital yet, and it was getting close to when he'd get home. I was planning how I'd handle that when she called me into the bathroom to ask if I thought her water had broken. It wasn't like in the movies with this huge gush of water. So, he got home, and I was there. He came into the house, and the first thing he asked was, "What are you doing here?" I think he thought something else was going on. "No, you just left and went to work, leaving her alone when she was scared." He said he was home and would be with her until it was time to go to the hospital. He put his hand on my shoulder and said something like, "Thanks, bud, I got it from here, and we'll call you when we're on the way to the hospital." He called me bud. I told him I wasn't his effing buddy and to F off. I could tell she wanted me to leave. I'm not sure she really wanted me to leave so much as she was in labor, and the tension between the two of us wasn't what she needed, and I knew that. It was his house, so what was I supposed to do? I left and prayed they'd actually call me instead of letting me know the next day that my kid had been born. She texted me a few hours later to say the doctor told her to go to the hospital. At that point, I still didn't know if I was going to be waiting outside or what he'd decide was best for his apparent wife and child. I was allowed to be in the room. I didn't force my way in there. She said she wanted me to be there. He was there too. By far, it was the single most awkward experience of my life, and the only reason I was able to excuse it was because she told me she wanted me there. I didn't want to miss the chance to be there when my kid was born and to hold my kid before he did. I can't imagine what the doctors and nurses were thinking. Effing humiliating. Then the guy tried to police what I could see. I put the baby in there. He's effing watching, and it's like, this is still my wife, and that's my baby. I chose to stay dignified and ignored him the entire time. I was there to do whatever she told me to do, and my focus wasn't on him. But in any other setting, I don't think I would have been able to hold back. The baby came flying out, as far as labor goes. Those are the nurse's words, and I trust labor and delivery nurses to know what they're talking about. She tore very badly because the baby came out so fast. The baby is so tiny, barely 6 pounds and only 18 inches, but perfectly healthy. I went home for a short rest, although I really couldn't rest at all. I went back today, and of course, he was there. Surprisingly, He said he was going to give us some time alone with the baby. Not sure if she had previously asked him to do that when I showed up or not, I didn't ask. He even brought us all food back when he returned a few hours later. I wondered if mine might be poisoned, but I tried to be nice. He's still not gone, so I'm wondering how long he'll be around. I just can't let myself do anything that will make her try to keep me away from my daughter now. I don't want them making it difficult for me. I'd prefer not to share her name publicly, but I can confirm it's the name we chose for a daughter years ago. He had no say, and he hasn't said anything about the name at all. It breaks me to see him holding her, though. I eventually left because it was just too much sitting there pretending to be part of some bizarre threes company. I know I will get my time with her when he's not around. He's already posting pictures of them on his social media. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to figure it out. I just have to find a way to be the bigger person because I won't let him or their relationship discourage me from being my daughter's dad. I totally get doing anything for your kids now, and if it means having to pretend to get along with him, I will. 9th update 3 weeks later. Many people have asked for an update on my situation, but I've been pretty busy. There's the baby, plus a week of completely unrelated but never-ending annoying problems. Remember that book Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day? That's the kind of week I've been having, but I'm not even going to get into it beyond saying I can't even stay at my own house right now because of a giant hole in the wall. I've been dealing with insurance and contractors all day, and they hit a water pipe. I'm still on paternity leave and regularly spending time with my daughter. We have a set schedule for when my daughter comes to stay with me, so I've been spending less time over at her house. Sometimes my wife needs help during the day, or just to be able to take a shower or a nap, so I stop by to help her. Really, I just want to take advantage of any opportunity I can to spend time with my baby and bond with her. Plus, breastfeeding isn't working out very well. She's still not producing enough milk, and I know she's upset about it, but it sort of makes things easier for me. At least she has help when the baby is with her, supposedly he helps, gets up at night, etc. I'm on my own, and I won't lie and say it's a walk in the park, but I think I'm getting the hang of it. The other day, she called me and asked me to come over. She said she was on the verge of a mental breakdown. I've heard that line from her many times, back when she was cheating on me without my knowledge, and it was usually related to her job. I went over there, and she was saying she can't handle being a mom, she can't handle life, she can't function. She was crying. This time, she couldn't run off to the gym. She would if she could, but she's not really allowed to exercise yet. She won't talk to anyone, won't seek professional help. Some days, she seems much better than others. She's just an easily overwhelmed person. Everything overwhelms her. Sometimes we have, dare I say, a good time together. The most she can really manage as far as physical activity right now is walking. We took the baby on her longest walk yet and walked from his house to my house. Everything was fine during the walk. She was in a good mood. We were joking around. Then she turned really sad after being at my house, our former shared house, for a little while. She finally admitted that this isn't how it's supposed to be, raising our daughter between two homes. She said my home is our daughter's real home and she's only supposed to have one home. Then she started sobbing about not having a home anymore. My house isn't her home, her boyfriend's house isn't her home, and she's essentially homeless and doesn't belong anywhere. She admitted she messed up really badly and that she doesn't want to share custody or see her daughter only half the time. She just wants to come home, but she loves him, thinks he loves her and our daughter, and doesn't want to hurt him after he's done all this for her. I told her, so what? What she wants for her kid should be more important than his feelings. If he can't get over the fact that the married, pregnant woman he was sleeping with wants her kid to grow up in a single home with her actual father, he can F off. He can F off anyway. If she can't tell him and wants me to tell him, I will. She doesn't think she can tell him. I told her this is her biggest issue, communication and honesty. Just tell people the truth and stop being too scared to tell anyone how you really feel. The thing is, I've been tolerating him lately. I don't like him, but I tolerate him. I'm not hanging out with him, ever. I know it sounds crazy coming from me, but I think he's genuinely in this. Still, he shouldn't have been sleeping with my wife. That doesn't absolve him of any of his involvement. He's back to being cloyingly nice to me. Suggesting we hang out, try to be friends. He's so effing happy all the time. It's a little unsettling, but I think he's just one of those people, and maybe that's what she likes about him. I'm not one of those people and never will be. Anyway, she and I sort of got into an argument. It started as a discussion, turned into an argument, then morphed back into a discussion, all about everything we don't like about each other and our relationship. In the end, we were both able to say what we need from the other person. She's just too overwhelmed right now and can't make any changes. She can't handle trying to change right now. It gives her too much anxiety. So, I don't know. We're sort of at an impasse right now. Then, with this stuff with the house, I've just been extra stressed and not really all that pleasant to deal with. 10th update 4 days later. This month continues to be the strangest I've ever experienced. The repairs to my house have been completed, and I'm thankfully back home. I can only take a few nights under my parents' roof. I slept with someone else. We went out on a date. I think we both just wanted to hook up to say we'd finally gotten over our former spouses. She's the ex-wife of a friend of mine. She and I are actually closer and better friends now than her ex-husband and I. Several people have suggested that we start dating each other. We get along great, and on the surface, we're a really good match, but it was too weird for both of us. She's very attractive, very social, fun to be around, and has been incredibly kind to me during this whole ordeal, but I can't see her as more than a friend. I had been intentionally avoiding sleeping with anyone else. I hadn't been with anyone since the last time I slept with my wife. That feels like an eternity ago. For the longest time, I wasn't interested in being with other women. Then it sort of morphed into my way of feeling morally superior to her. I was going to hold out and not pursue anything until after we were divorced. It's pretty pointless and childish, a dumb way to make myself feel better and to be able to say I never cheated. I still don't feel like I cheated, there is no marriage anymore. Within hours of this happening, I started getting texts from my wife saying she had decided she wanted to come home. It's like she had some sort of sixth sense. She was saying she was ready and asked if I would come help her. I called her and told her I didn't want her to come home or to be in a relationship again. She doesn't get to just decide that's what's going to happen. She then started to say, "Oh, I know. I just meant move back in." I told her I didn't really believe her and felt like she was just stringing me around again. She said she thought our conversation the other day had gone so well and that she thought we seemed to be at a place where we could really work on fixing everything, but until then, she could live in another room. She said she was completely serious about it and wanted our daughter to be in one home. I feel so mixed about everything, but ultimately, I want my daughter living in my house 24/7, and I don't want another man helping to raise her, so I took the bait. Today I showed up at his house to help remove some things, but I anticipated I'd get there and she'd either have changed her mind or wouldn't have been planning to leave at all, only waiting to see me do some more tricks for her. They were arguing when I got there. The baby was crying, she was crying and running around packing things in bags, and he was following behind her, begging her to stay and offering to do anything to make her stay. He accused me of this being my idea. Maybe it was, I don't really know or care what he thinks. It was obvious she had just sprung this news on him shortly before I got there. She kept telling him over and over that she just wanted her child raised in one home, that his home wasn't really their home, and she was sorry for doing this to him after everything he'd done, but she just had to give our daughter one home with her real father. We got back to my house, and she's obviously an emotional mess. I have no room prepared for her. Not 15 minutes later, he showed up at the front door. She didn't want to talk to him. He wouldn't give up and eventually started loudly saying things like, "That's not what you were saying when you took my pants off last night." At that point, after I was sure our neighbors had been enjoying this embarrassing scene long enough, I told him if he didn't leave, I'd call the cops. I went out there and tried to calm him down. I mean, I had to sympathize with him. She runs away, that's what she does. I may have said a few other things in my favor to make him realize he doesn't want to be involved in this mess that is my wife. I don't think he'll give up so easily. It sounds terrible, but once she was at my house, I sort of found myself wishing she'd leave with him. I know I'd wanted her to come home, and I tell myself it was mostly due to the baby, but now I'm wondering what the hell I've gotten myself into. She said, "I didn't do anything with him last night. I haven't done anything with him since she was born. I've only been thinking about you." I told her, "Yeah right, you expect me to believe it? Even if it's true, what on earth makes you think I'd ever believe anything you say?" Then, out of spite, I told her I slept with someone else. I know I only told her to hurt her, and I feel bad about it now. She immediately demanded to know who. I told her it wasn't her business. She claims it is her business because we're still married. Nope, I'm not sharing. So now we're awkwardly existing. I don't have much faith that she's going to stay here. I think she'll be back at his place within the week. I've told her that he's not allowed over here. He has no business being here. And if we're raising our daughter in the same house together, then she can't just run off to his house to be with him whenever she feels like it. It won't work that way. She says she knows and that she wants me to want to be with her again and that she'll prove to me she can be a good partner. She tried to kiss me, and I rejected her. She's upset. She's taking a nap now. I feel like I've dug myself into a very deep hole. 11th update 1 week later. I don't really have an update, but I'm mainly making this post because I've received a ton of comments on my previous post, and it's gotten too big to follow anymore. When I get a notification that someone has responded to my post or comment, I click on it, and it should take me directly to their comment, but it doesn't. So, I have to scroll through all the comments to find the one I want to respond to. I don't have time to scroll through 800 comments. I don't respond to some comments by choice. I get it, many people think I'm a doormat and need to grow a spine. What can I really say? We can trade places, and you can tell me how easy it is to navigate this, and then we'll talk. I did plan to divorce her. The papers are ready. I admit that I have stalled in having her served. I can't put into words why. The lawyer wanted to do it back on July 29th, and I told him I needed more time. I'm kind of embarrassed by my hesitation. But this is my life, and it's very easy for completely uninvolved bystanders to advocate for divorce and all sorts of unrealistic things, like getting sole custody of my daughter. If I needed to take on sole custody, you bet I would. My wife isn't crazy. I get that you all have a very bad perception of her. I've created that perception. Well, I didn't create that image, I've simply shared the truth about her actions, so she's created that image. That's all anyone reading my posts knows about her, nothing good. She does have some good qualities, and believe me, I didn't want to let myself remember or acknowledge any of them for a long time. She's done horrible things, hurtful things, incredibly selfish things. She is an emotional person. She's a highly stressed, anxious person who tends to live by the whims of her emotions. I'm not saying it's not tiring and frustrating at times, or even most of the time, but I'm telling you that she's not crazy. She's not an immediate danger to the safety of our baby. She's not doing anything that's going to make a court give me full custody. Do I think she's in the best possible place to raise a whole human being? No. I mean, neither am I, but she has a lot of work to do, and I know that. We weren't planning to have a baby when she got pregnant. I would not have purposely conceived a baby at that time because she was already sort of a mess prior to finding out she was pregnant. But there's a difference between that and being legitimately unstable to the point of not being able to tend to the basic needs of her child. She's doing that. She actually seems less of a mess and less anxious than she was a year ago, when she was having her weekly meltdowns. She also owns our home along with me. Sure, I've always paid the mortgage, but the courts don't really care who's been paying the mortgage when the house is in both of our names. I can't just kick her out. We had planned to sell the house and split the proceeds. Honestly, it seemed like the easiest and quickest solution. Houses are selling very fast around here, and we'd make a profit. It stings to have to split the profits, but it wasn't a hill I wanted to lay on. I think it's ultimately best for my child to have her mother involved in her life and to develop a bond with her mom, regardless of where her mom ends up living or what the relationship between the two of us is like. I also think the safety and well-being of my child's mother is important for my child. She needs a place to live. I'll admit that I've enjoyed some of the moments of normalcy we've had. It's okay if you want to say I'm rug sweeping. I'm just so tired. I'm tired of being angry, tired of being sad, tired of all the drama. So to have a few days where life feels like it used to, when my life was much less complicated, and to just sit around doing mundane things together without necessarily thinking about this big master plan, divorce, reconciliation, custody, etc., feels sort of good. I feel like I can catch my breath for a second. If you want to call me spineless because I'm enjoying finally having those moments I always dreamed we'd have together with our first child, so be it. There are still moments I feel annoyed. I kind of like living on my own. I got used to it, or I thought I had. Sometimes it feels like she's invading my space, but I'm handling it the best that I can. There are still things I love about her. There are some things I now hate about her. I hate things that she did. I guess I love who she used to be, but sometimes she shows glimpses of that person, and I miss her. I admit that I really do miss that person I fell in love with. We've been together since I was 22, and she was 20. Most of our adult lives. We moved in together after only a few months. We've experienced most adult things together, good and bad. We lived in a few trashy, garbage apartments together, moved across the country together, bought and sold and then bought a house together, traveled to many places, had great adventures, made some good memories, survived COVID and the horrible DIY haircuts we gave each other, weathered job losses, car accidents, health scares, had some horrible fights, had some great makeup segs, dealt with a few pregnancy scares, basically grew up together. Well, she didn't grow up. She has a very hard time adulting. We used to be like best friends, always together. She still has a hold on me in some ways, and what's the use in trying to deny it? 12th update 3 weeks later. Thanks to everyone who has reached out to check on me. I've had a lot going on, obviously, the new baby being the most prominent thing, but life has truly been a when it rains it pours situation lately. Ultimately, I'm fine. I filed for divorce. She's been served. It wasn't because of anything new she did that I haven't already shared here. I thought about it practically every other second for about 2 weeks and ultimately decided I couldn't live like that anymore, constantly thinking about it and wondering if I should go through with it. So, I pulled the band-aid off and told the lawyer to move forward. The paperwork had already been completed and was just waiting for me to say go. I feel relieved. I think I was experiencing more stress just constantly weighing what I should and shouldn't do. Now that I've made a decision, I feel better. The more we're together here at home, the more I realize this isn't what I want and that I can't be with her in any sort of romantic, committed way again. I hope that we can be friends and not just co-parents who only communicate about our child when necessary. I'm actually enjoying being around her now, for the most part. I'm enjoying doing platonic things together. But the thought of anything beyond that isn't appealing to me. I love her as the person I used to be married to, and I love and respect her as the mother of my children, but I don't love her in the same way I used to, and I don't think I can ever get over everything she's done. I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm filled with resentment and mistrust for the rest of my life. Plus, the longer she was here, the more reminders I got of the other issues in our relationship that I guess I was able to brush aside before her affair came to light. I had to really weigh staying together and trying counseling and therapy, if she'd agree to it, which she never has, to try to regain those feelings for her and keep our family under one roof versus splitting time with my child, seeing her only part of the time, and almost certainly having another man/father figure in my daughter's life, if not the affair partner, then somebody else. It really dawned on me after she had her 6-week postnatal checkup and was cleared for sex. She wanted us to have sex. I didn't want to at all. She was upset and hurt. She still has no idea how deeply she hurt me. Prior to that, her affair partner made another appearance at our house. This time, he was calm. He asked her to talk, and she told me she had to talk to him but asked me not to leave the house. So I went into another room, and yes, I listened to their entire conversation. The gist was basically that he wanted her back and told her he loves her. She told him he's a great guy, but they never should have been together. She needs to be with her family, me and our daughter, and that she was sorry for getting him so involved in this mess. She said that if it wasn't for me and our daughter, she'd be with him, but she has to choose us. She is still living here. We got into a huge argument last night. She threw water all over me. She got in her car and left, same old behavior, just running away. I knew then that I made the right decision. Of course, divorcing her doesn't change her behavior. She will act like this with anyone she's with, most likely. And in those cases, I won't be there to try to shield my daughter from it or remove her from the situation. Last night, I had to tell my wife to calm down for the sake of our daughter, to not behave that way around her. I know that children are still affected by this stuff, even if they aren't direct witnesses. The idea of not being there and not knowing who she might get involved with next terrifies me. So, she's living here for now. I'm fine with that. Most days aren't like yesterday. Right now, she's sitting in the same room as me, working on something, and everything is peaceful. I can't make her leave anyway since it's her house too, legally. Today, she was calmer, and it was an okay day. For the most part, we have a good routine down with caring for our daughter. This arrangement won't last forever, but I'm in no rush for her to leave. Ultimately, I'd prefer to sell the house and split the proceeds. This is what I've put in the paperwork I filed. However, we can agree on a date to list the house, and it doesn't have to be next week or even next month. I've already started looking at new places to live, but I don't feel the need to rush it. I'm tired of having so much going on and so much on my plate to think about and worry about. I'd just like to relax for a damn second. The stress I've been feeling, my blood pressure is probably through the roof. 13th update 3 weeks later. Many people have contacted me to make sure I'm okay. I'm fine, the baby's fine, and even my wife is fine. I mean, fine is relative. What I mean is that we're all safe and alive. She's moved back in with her affair partner. I came home from work, and all her stuff was gone. He finally decided to take her back. He wasn't going to initially and was trying to convince her to let him help her find an apartment, but she can't be on her own. She's told him that I'm an abusive drunk, so I think he felt he had no choice but to save her from me. Hey, the one good thing about it is that he's no longer acting all buddy-buddy, trying to be my friend. It's all really depressing, and sometimes you just have to laugh at it all to keep from crying. There's not much to share right now, but I'm sure at some point in the future, I'll be able to share a lot more. 14th update 1 month later. My soon-to-be ex-wife has now taken our daughter back to her hometown, where her family lives. Her family had come out here to meet the baby for the first time, which had been planned while we were still living together. Honestly, I was pretty relieved that they would no longer be staying with me/us. Since moving back in with her family, she's been making it really hard for me to see my daughter, failing to show up at agreed-upon times for exchanges, things like that. She also dropped the nice guy act entirely. She's been spreading all sorts of lies, accusing me of abuse, rape, and so on. I have no doubt she's also told her family these things. It's absurd. When her family visited, I didn't see them at all. Her excuse for preventing me from seeing my daughter during that time was that her family was there to spend time with her, and I should let them have the full visit since it was going to be brief. Sorry, but I still deserve to see my child regardless of her relatives being in town. She made the mistake of posting something on social media that someone we both know saw and informed me about. I can't see her socials anymore. I immediately informed my lawyer. We have a pending custody case, and it's illegal for her to take our child out of state without the judge's permission, which she doesn't have. She was supposed to have returned to work by now, but apparently, she's not planning to go back. When I contacted her, she insisted she had just gone home for a visit to get some peace of mind. She swore it was only a visit. Regardless, my lawyer filed an emergency custody order, primarily to notify the court that I do not approve of this. As of now, she is literally flying back here, or at least she's supposed to be, but not before telling me multiple times how much she hates me and to go F myself. She knew that during our divorce and custody proceedings, neither of us is allowed to leave the state with the baby. I honestly can't believe she was that reckless, even considering everything else she's done. At the end of the day, it's just going to reflect poorly on her, but her behavior is becoming increasingly concerning. I'm going to be dealing with this forever. People say it's only 18 years, but it doesn't stop at 18. Just thinking about it is exhausting. 15th update 1 month later. Just feeling like hopping on here and doing some venting. It's been about 3 months since I filed for divorce. We're nearing the finish line, but to nobody's surprise, she's contested a number of things and tried to convince the court of a supposedly drinking problem I have, which she's completely fabricated. I even told them that I'll agree to breathalyzers or whatever they want me to do to prove I have absolutely no issues with booze. We have a temporary custody order in place. I say order because it's an order from the court and not something I agreed to. The court wanted us to work with a mediator. I tried, but my ex-wife would barely compromise at all. So, it's like 60-40 right now, with her having the 60%. It's actually more than that because there are stretches of time when I'm away for work. Like, I was just gone for 2 weeks. So she ends up getting even more time. That was also a factor in the court giving her 60%, because I'm not available to solely parent my child for 50%, according to them. I'm just so pissed off about it. She's still living with her gym boyfriend. She has him totally convinced that I was an abusive drunk who raped her, hurt her, and did all of these things that I'd never do. I can admit to the things I did wrong or should have done differently, but I never did those things, and it really hurts that she'd tell everyone I did. I was hurt in that way as a child, and I'd never do that to somebody, ever. I feel like she knows how triggering the mention of that is to me, which is why she specifically has chosen to say that I raped her. This guy acts like he's my kid's dad, and he's just smug, handing her off to me. He told me I better enjoy the time I have now because, when he's done with me, it'll be supervised visits only. Of course, that was a threat, and I took it straight to my lawyer. She has several strikes against her in the eyes of the court. Now the big issue is the holidays. I think I've accepted that things are never going to look like I always envisioned. I might not get to spend every holiday with my child, and even those holidays where I do see her, it'll probably only be part of the time. Holidays are pretty big in my family, so this is a sore spot for me, but I think I've accepted that it'll at least never look like I imagined. Of course, she wants to have Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. She wants to fly home to her family, but that isn't allowed. I won't agree to it. I've even proposed that I can have our daughter for the first part of Christmas Eve, then she can spend the time with the two toadstools and have Christmas morning with them, then I get her for the second half of Christmas. Like I'm willing to give up my kid's first Christmas morning. I know she's an infant and will have no clue what's going on, but a first Christmas is special. That's not good enough for my ex-wife. For Thanksgiving, I get a half day. My ex-wife doesn't even like Thanksgiving. She's enjoying hurting me. She's doing these things for no reason but to hurt me. I don't understand why we can't just be amicable. If anyone should be trying to get vengeance with the divorce outcome, it's me, but I just want to be done. I don't understand why she has to be like this. But I also feel like I've compromised as much as I'm willing to compromise. Like, we can sell the house and split the proceeds, even though I paid for the house. I will take on some of her debts that she incurred during the marriage. I'll do a lot just to be done with this, but it's not enough. It's hard to imagine how much time I wasted with her in that relationship.